Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I am pleased to be here today to share with you Real to Virtual, Virtual to Real. And basically what it is the Amplifying Medical Laboratory Science, Public Health, Co-working, and Special Interest through Bi-directional integration into 3D virtual worlds, communities within the Metaverse. Basically, the physical world has been inspires my virtual world living and has been doing so for a while. So some may say, so what are you talking about? What is real to virtual, virtual to real? Basically, it's a bi-directional, two-way integration of the physical world, some call it real life, but I like the term physical world because my virtual world has become my real life. But the real physical world activities and special interest in the 3D virtual worlds community to enhance access and delivery of information, resources, connections, and service. Now, interesting, my real to virtual, virtual real started some time ago. I'm not sure if a lot of you are familiar with it or remember it, but it started in a little place called Metaverse. While I was volunteering in 2008 as a Metaverse beta tester, the integration of physical activities and projects into the virtual environment was launched. The experience fueled the personal and the professional vision and mission to establish a bi-directional integration of physical, real life activities into 3D virtual worlds. This is something I pulled these from my album, The Memories. But basically, a lot of the worlds that I'm using now, that I've named now, they're all the offsprings of my Metaverse worlds. My avatar, those of you who know me from Second Life, my avatar is Savannah, and that's where the name came out of my little avatar that was in Metaverse. I had a co-working home office, and I had a resource center, and of course, I had Miss Bugslady's lab. So the virtual worlds of the projects I have today basically was started back in 2000. Well, the seeds were planted in 2008 in a place called Metaverse. So the real to virtual, virtual to real, the bi-directional allows for information to share and amplify special information. My passion for the last, I guess, 56 years has been medical laboratory science. So one of the main purposes purposes I have for the virtual, real to virtual, virtual to real is to amplify medical laboratory voices, as well as public health, and networking is something I enjoy doing, and co-working remotely, as well as collaborating within the communities in the physical world and the 3D virtual world. So we're talking about the real to virtual, virtual real, there's two parts. Real to virtual, basically, and this is from my perception of the bi-directional integration. Quite a few of us are doing it already, but this is my interpretation for my program, for my activities. My real to virtual is information sharing, training, and marketing. So basically we're saying the physical world content, activities, and resources have been integrated into 3D virtual worlds, and especially Kitely. Kitely is my home grid. All of my worlds, my major worlds have been built into Kitely, although I built projects from time to time in OSCC, which is one of my passion communities, as well as Open Sim Fest, which is another passion community. And I'm looking forward to participating in the Open Sims World's Fair in 2025. But basically, virtual-based links are provides direct linkage to physical content and resources such as technical assistance, such as social media tools, such as books and training courses, and even the blockchain. And then my NFTs that I have in my gallery, they're linked to the Tezos blockchain. So we're talking physical world, content, activities, and resources integrated into the 3D virtual worlds. From Kitely, Open Sims Fest, and OSCC, and any others that I get an invitation to participate in. So what we have here, these are some of the ways, and I'm gonna just kind of quickly go through over the years. Now, the very first one you see, that's my avatar. When I talk about medical laboratory, we're talking about biohazard. So this particular picture is reflects one of the topics that I teach when I'm talking in the clinics. What you see is two organisms that have two distinct morphologies, and that's what I'm illustrating in this picture. I have used this picture in my real life training as a cover picture, but also to show the distinction between the structure of the two organisms, which that particular organism is a spirochete that causes social disease, and the other one is the Borrelia. The next one, this is the medical lab training. The next one is amplifying the lab voices and promoting those voices. We have Public Health Laboratory Association Month. I was thrilled to be able to amplify their voice a couple of years ago in OS Fest. And that's the whole idea, of making them visible. 3D Virtual Worlds has given me that opportunity to do that. Within my virtual health coalition, I have the Lyme disease awareness. Several years ago, I was a Lyme disease patient. Look, fortunate enough, I was able to get treated early enough, so I did not have any long-term effects, but I wanted to use the 3D virtual world, real to virtual, as a platform to bring awareness to Lyme disease. One of my, I guess, long-term tenets is a breast cancer survivor. So what I have here sharing health information. This space is her brownstone that she has at Virtual Laboratory Training Center in my village there. I have the Virtual Health Coalition Village. They're all brownstones. I still have some available, but special public health topics I feature there. And the next slide where you see is the Remembering COVID Victims. I interacted with a group called the Black Ladies in Public Health at the beginning of COVID, when a lot of the patients were not being counted. And they had a project where they were actually counting the patients. They were allowing families to send information in. So we built up a brownstone, their virtual office where they can share the information, and it links to YouTube where they can see the video where the family sent pictures in of the loved ones that they felt it was being had become invisible. Last but not least, in this public health and my public health arena is links to my Share project, which I have a Share Project Village, which is related to HIV/AIDS awareness. And what you see here is the plaza. And in the plaza, I have the circles. Each circle represents HIV/AIDS Awareness Day. That is a national event for HIV/AIDS awareness. So the real to virtual, which is ideal for medical laboratory science awareness, medical laboratory science training, public health awareness, health education. And I always, even though I put this out there and I have brought colleagues in, I have a disclaimer. It does not take, unless we have intensified training, what they share, it does not take you getting your health information or medical information from your doctor and what have you. Or it does not replace additional training. But this is one of the things we stress, but it brings the information in to that particular community. And I'm hoping that this also platform will help to encourage other individuals to join the medical laboratory science community. Now, the other part of real to virtual, virtual to real is virtual to real, which is avatar networking, co-working, and collaborating. Those who know me know I like to network. I network heavily in the real life, and I brought that into the virtual life. But the emphasis I have in the virtual life, which has been amazing, is the network that I've established in the virtual life I've carried out into the real life via social media, sometimes physical meetings. There are several of individuals who's in the audience today that I had the privilege to meet several years ago at the Federal Consortium for 3D for Virtual Worlds in DC. So that virtual coming out into the real environment, it just fits perfectly for the info. For me being an information, I call myself a squirrel. I love to gather information. My job is, my personal and professional, is to gather information, curate it, and make sure the resources gets to those individuals who need that information. The virtual base linkage is provided to connect the virtual world residents and visitors to the physical world, contacts or people, special interest information, the amplification tools, resources such as books, articles, seminars, and conferences. As in the physical world, networking is a core element to foster real to virtual networks within the virtual based community. So networking fuse my real to virtual, virtual to real avatars, and you'll see them, they're between the various worlds. They're quite, this one, I've been quite busy, and I was working with my Kitely avatar sister to put our booths together for this particular conference. But our avatars, our co-working and our collaborating activities, which includes the forums, which includes the community groups, includes the meetings, and definitely includes the conferences. I mean, where else can you go to a conference? I don't have to get a hotel. I don't have to make a flight arrangements. And I get to get awesome information, which I've been gathering up so far. So basically, virtual to real, virtual-based networking, co-working, and conferencing being directed to the physical world, back to the physical world, using social media platforms, websites, and other relevant tools. So example of that, weekly, I am, like I said, Kitely is my home base. The community meetings, it's on my calendar. Sometimes I can make them, sometimes I can't, but I can always go to the forum and get information about what was discussed in the meeting. So this, again, that virtual to real, that communication between that virtual community, I can bring back out to the real world when I cannot make it into the virtual community. This is several years ago. This was at an OSCC conference. I did a presentation on my virtual laboratory training center. In addition to doing the presentation at the conference, I had an awesome time networking with my colleagues. And speaking of conferencing, like I said, conferencing is it's a valuable tool, a valuable benefit of the 3D virtual worlds. And it's here networking, connecting to the blockchain. Even using the 3D virtual worlds, I am able to connect my visitors and other residents. If coming through my visiting some of my particular worlds, I can connect them to the blockchain. If you visit, and I hope you will, when you visit my expo booth in the community funders expo, I'm at Expo Zone 5, booth 29. I have two models of my NFTs that I got that are my guardians. They're spirits of the metaverse, and they're NFTs, and they're linked to the blockchain that they're housed on. And most definitely social networking. I built a model stance here where anyone who comes in to the spaces that I place these, they can click on my whatever logo, they can click on and go to the various social media platforms that I'm using. Again, that virtual, there can be someone in the virtual space can connect with me in the real space. That's why the virtual to real is all about avatar networking, co-working, and collaborating. And last but not least, on this part, recreating historical events. I know a lot of individuals doing role playing. Well, I haven't gotten into the role playing yet to a certain extent, but what I have done, I use the virtual space to recreate historical events, basically telling the story of various historical events. And this was done at OpenSim Fest 2023. I was able to tell the story about jazz and the role that juke joints, which what you see here, played a role. And I must add here, the structures that were built, the juke joints, I asked AI to give me a description, a detailed description of a juke joint. I used that description to build a 3D model of a juke joint. So that sidebar, that's another way you can use AI. Speaking of, and that was just some of the tools that I have in my real to virtual real toolbox. Number one, LinkedIn. I am on LinkedIn. One thing I just remembered, I have to put up on my sites. LinkedIn has a barcode, a QR code that you can pull up. I should be making a copy of that and putting it out there, but I am on LinkedIn. Feel free to contact me on LinkedIn. Although my name is Sally Cherry, that is my real name and my middle, but I do use my middle initial in the real life because I do a lot of my training under using that real initial. I am on Discord. I'm Sally C on Discord. And I recently reactivated, well, got more active with my Blue Sky account. And you can find me on Blue Sky. My e-newspapers, that's another good source to get information out about your projects, about your community. Facebook business pages. I have a Facebook business page for my virtual laboratory project. I have a Facebook business page for my Cherry Network Center, which was the very first project I built when I joined the Kitely community back in 2011. Another tool in the toolbox is the AI image generators. I use that to generate graphics. I use it to generate maybe a logo I may want to put up or somewhere, or I want a particular picture. I use the IA image generators. And needs to say your websites, your blogs, or your web pages should be in one of those should be in your toolbox. Now what we have here, just some of the things that's in my toolbox. The first one we have here is a video. And basically what I did here, very simple. I made a PowerPoint presentation and I saved it as a MP3 and an MP4 because I had one with voice and one without voice, and I can use them for the different platforms I want to share them with. Second is on my website. I have a website, Cherry Network, and I also have a web page. I use a website which links to the various components of my professional activities. I am a medical laboratory scientist certified by the American Society of Clinical Pathologists and has been so since 1975. That's my passion, has been medical laboratory science ever since I was in 10th grade of high school. I love being at the microscope. I love being in the lab, discovering, working with the bacteria. And needs to say, what you see here, this under the IA image generator. I recently did a exhibit to celebrate my 56 years in the laboratory as a medical laboratory scientist. I wanted a nice image because I built a giant petri dish, and I had a look I wanted to have. So what did I do? I went to an AI image generator to get the image that I wanted. I told it exactly what I wanted. I wanted colorful bacteria. Although some bacteria is colorful, some is not. But this was, I wanted something that was colorful that would catch the eye because I was focusing on that petri dish, which is the focus, with the microscope in the center of that. And I hope you got to visit us at the Open Sims Fest because this is where I had that this year. Also, blogs and content curation. I use Scoop It. Scoop It is a platform that you can curate content, and basically you can set up your own website, almost like a mini newsletter or e-newsletter. And I said before, your social media platforms. What are your social media platforms you're using? Do they fit your target audience? Do they fit the topic you need? I know that some of the individuals in the medical laboratory science would not use certain social media platforms, so I make sure I use the social media platform that they use. And going back to basic classic, promo cards. Promo cards or promo posters. What I did, I generalized, I did a summary of the various features of my virtual laboratory trainings and career center, and I made a promo card. I use that when I do real life workshops, and I use it as part to show what's in the promo card. I have used this when I do training to show what can go on in the laboratory, because in the laboratory, my virtual laboratory, I do have microscopes. I could not find a microscope, so I basically built a microscope based on my physical world microscopes. I built it piece by piece because one of my training is learning about the bright field microscope, the compound light microscope. So for my introduction to the compound light microscope, my individuals, my students, participants will have to take it apart and know the parts and pieces. So that's how the particular microscope that I have in world, it has been featured. So I encourage you and welcome you to visit Real to Virtual, Virtual to Real, and we shorten it Real to Virtual to Real. We have a booth in the speaker in exhibit zone 3. We're at booth 12, and then we have our Real to Virtual, Virtual to Real exhibit zone booth at booth 29. When you go to either one of these booths, you'll be able to link to, and that's the whole linkage information. And the whole idea is to provide that linkage and that information for you.
Thank you, Sally. That was wonderful. Thank you for an informative and interesting presentation.
It's
As a
always
reminder,
my pleasure.
Oh, it's a joy. And thank you for adding the poster booth info too. As a reminder to our audience, you will want to check out conference.opensimulator.org to see what is coming up on the conference schedule. You won't want to miss our next session, which is History of the Virtual Worlds Museum and the Future of the Open Source Exhibit, which will begin at 3:30 p.m. in this keynote region. And don't miss the special fireside chat with Philip Rosedale and the Q&A moderated by Mal Burns. It's happening at 4 p.m., taking place here in the OSCC keynote regions. Also, we encourage you to visit the OSCC24 Poster Expo in the OSCC Expo 3 region to find accompanying information on presentations and to explore the Hypergrid tour resources in OSCC Expo 2 region, along with the sponsor and the crowdfunder booths located throughout all of the OSCC Expo regions. Thank you again to Sally and to the audience.